What's up, everybody? It's Cal Nitro from Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel, and joining me today on the other end of the line, the one babyface heel himself, Mr. Moorhouse.
Mr. Moorhouse, to you.
When you're this big, they call you Mister.
They call me Big Papa.
Have you had a chocolate bar named after you yet? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
No, well, they did. It was called Bounty Bar.
Oh, Bounty Bar. There you go.
Yeah. I don't get it. Anyway.
So long as it's a Bounty Bar and not a Bounty Bar, you'll be fine. Because, you know.
Hey, today, this is the goofs and giggles department. So.
So there we go. In the previous days on the channel, we did a video off of a Twitter tweet that's been going viral amongst wrestling fans, where it's a series of about 6 or 7 questions just talking about our favorites and our dislikes in the world of wrestling. Well, we did one here a couple days ago just talking about the general wrestling world at large. Today we're going to tackle the wonderful, wacky world of Vince McMahon and those wild and wacky, zany funsters over at the WWE.
The network. We're going to talk about the network.
Talk about the network and your $9.99 and where it's going.
For only $9.99, you can see everything.
Including Royal Rumbles in far-off places. And then the next thing you know, we'll have Survivor Series in a shark cage.
Didn't they do that?
They did they've had shark cage matches, but they haven't had like an entire card in a cage. Or like a shark cage, I should say.
That's maybe soon. Sure. But it won't be Survivor Series. It'll just be pay-per-view called Shark Cage. You know them.
WWE Shark Cage. Live from Huntington Beach, California on the beach. No, just ran out the beach. But anyways, all right. So if you watched the first video, you know the formula by now. There's, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 questions-ish that the tweet has, and we just go from top to bottom talking about, you know, the topics of each question. So the first one is favorite wrestler. My favorite wrestler right now in the WWE, still to this day, has got to be hashtag pray for Rollins, hashtag Seth Rollins, because every time he wrestles, I always have to use the hashtag pray for Rollins, because, man, his style is going to cost him some body parts here somewhere down the line, but he's just one of my favorite athletes to watch right now. Kind of, you know, similar to that, to my choice in the general list of Kenny Omega. Seth Rollins is kind of that same similar style, but, you know, more McMahon, I guess, for the more sports entertainment crowd now. So I love watching him. I loved watching him as a heel. I thought that heel run he had, I should say, was one of the top heel runs of the last decade or so. Put it right up there with CM Punk's heel run in 13. Same type of heel, and just love watching that guy. Just he's a reason to tune in on Monday night. Seth Rollins, awesome.
So you're the big fan of the man who collects names.
That's right.
The Kingslayer, the Architect, what other names has he had?
Kingslayer, Architect. That's pretty much. I think those are,
what was it? What's it?
Oh, CrossFit Jesus, yes.
CrossFit Jesus,
CrossFit Jesus, yes. Yeah, there we go. CrossFit Jesus. Yeah, that's the third one. Yeah.
He's a collector of names.
Collector of names and collector of belts as well, as he is a Grand Slam champion now. So
I think he's the third Shield member to win all the belts.
Hey. All 3 of them are Grand Slam champions, I do believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are. Yes, they are. Yep.
All right. What's your choice? Let me break the awkward silence here and just ask, what's your choice for this selection?
My choice is a man from the NXT roster.
Okay.
Who has been... I can't miss his matches now, and that's Johnny Gargano.
Hey, there we go.
He is a fantastic storyteller. He plays the underdog role a bit because he's not a very big guy. He's 5'9" or 5'10", but he's fit. He's very muscular, and he can tell a story him and his Ciampa match at was it NXT Takeover recently was amazing. That was, even my wife was hooked on that match. She absolutely loved it. She got upset at every false finish. She's like, really? Not yet?
It was such a great match.
It was a 5-star match too.
Hey.
Meltzer 5. So that's Gargano's second 5-star match and WWE's second 5-star match in the last 7 years now.
Something like that. And yeah, Gargano's been in both.
Yep. So that just tells you what kind of wrestler he is. And there's so many more matchups that look interesting. Like, I can't wait to see him and Styles, or him and Joe, or him and Bryan, him and Balor, him and Nakamura. There's just so many matches that he could just pull greatness out of, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun to watch him, develop throughout the years and get this out and running. So, hey, great choices for that. Can't go wrong with either guy. A Seth Rollins Johnny Gargano match on Monday Night Raw would be awesome. That would be fun to see.
You would pay to see that, Nitro?
Oh, I would love to see that. Would love to.
Now, which wrestler do you not want to pay to see? Which wrestler is overrated to you?
Whoa, on the WWE roster.
There's a lot to choose from.
I know there's a lot to choose from. I'm not going to take the obvious choice with Roman Reigns, just because I think that's more of a creation of fans' disdain for the product, and just the fact that it's kind of a worn out thing right now with me, and it's like, okay, great, we as loud as we boo and we dislike that Roman's getting opportunity after opportunity, WWE isn't going to change their mind anytime soon about that, although they might be softening a little bit now at this point and pushing some other people. But I
can do my choice if you want to think.
It's such a hard thing, Moorhouse, to figure out, because now they've got they do such a good job of vetting and creating characters now and that stuff than they did almost 5 or 10 years ago. That, okay, if I got to pick a guy who's overrated, fine. R-Truth.
Really?
Yeah. What's the deal?
Is he really on TV?
What's the deal? Well, he just got drafted to SmackDown Live apparently here a couple of weeks ago. So
that's the first time I saw him on TV in like a long time.
R-Truth is overrated. There we go.
Okay,
he's just the rapping jobber guy now at this point in his career. I know he's had a huge career. I know NWA World Champion. One of the guys who helped build TNA over the last 15 years or so and that stuff, and then WWE brought him back in. Had that great run with Cena, the early part of the 2010s and that stuff. But since then, really hasn't done much, and we haven't seen him on TV and everything. But the times we do, it's like the most inopportune. Oh, okay, R-Truth, that's nice. So overrated. And
he's still playing the gimmick. Yeah, he's still playing the gimmick of I have like brain damage and I don't know what's happening.
Sure. So that's just that's me probably scraping absolute bottom of the barrel, because I don't think there's really any overrated acts on that roster, with the exception of Roman Reigns, but I'm not going to pile on Roman. So
I have 2 picks, but I'm going to go with my first choice, I think.
All right.
My first choice is a man whose theme song is more over than the wrestler, and that's Bobby Roode.
Really?
I find him lackluster. His matches are kind of boring. Mm-hmm. He fights a lot like lamer Triple H. I find his style is just slow. Mm-hmm. But his theme song, if he didn't have the song, no one would be behind him at all, I believe.
So if he had more of the song that he was doing, or that he was using in TNA just prior to, and
mm-hmm.
not the famous CFO money trap, I should say.
Yeah, and nothing about him interests me. He's just a bland guy right now. My other choice is going to be Kane, but even then, Kane has earned, his pedigree, and he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, even if he's pushed a little too much. But I just have nothing of interest with Bobby.
Kane kind of just is a part-timer. Pops in and out once in a while, and
mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is that it's harder now to answer that question because of WWE's vetting process now. With their gimmicks and everything is a lot better, and their creative is a lot better than it was at the beginning part of the decade. If we were talking like 2011 WWE, there would be a cavalcade of names we could pick from. Evan Bourne would be one, on my list.
Overrated? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, just, the guy doesn't really, just a real generic look, and he could do a 6 shooting star and take an RKO insane. But other than that, that's it. And that would be, my choice out of that era. But, it's so tough now to even, like, you look at even NXT right now, and just, you'd love to say that this act and that act is overrated in NXT, but they're not properly fleshed out yet. They're still developing. They're still They're still.
And everyone's over in NXT, it seems.
Exactly. So, and I mean, like, I don't get the goo goo gaga that's over Alexa Bliss right now either. But I mean, Alexa is a sound worker now in the ring and that stuff. I don't think she's on the level of a Trish Stratus or a Mickie James as of yet.
No, I think the illusion for Alexa is the fact that every 35-year-old guy who lives in their mom's basement wants crack with her.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the whole thing recently now with her selfie being the most favorited photo of the year off of the WWE Twitter account or something like that. That stuff, because of the speculation of, okay, did she get +2s or not? And it's just kind of like, well. And then you watch Monday Night Raw, and she hardly gets involved in the match, and that stuff is like, well, that's probably the answer to your question, did she get +2s or not? The fact that she wasn't physically involved, but it's such a non-issue that it's I would like to. I mean, I'll still stick with R-Truth for my overrated, but Alexa Bliss to me is probably right up there with a 1B. How's that? 1 and 1B. Sounds good. You had 2 choices. I'll do those 2 there. So.
All right. Well, on the flip side, how about a wrestler who's underrated and not pushed at all? Okay. Kind of like, hey, he's cool, he should be, he's just hanging around.
Yeah.
So what's your choice here, Nitro?
Oh, for underrated talent. Well, this is a tougher decision because WWE has a lot of them. And even with guys like a Daniel Bryan coming back, it's always tough. But I'm still... it's hard for me to even fathom in 2018 that he's not getting the just respect that he deserves. But I still think that a Miz WWE title run or a Miz Universal title run in 2018 would be major money for the company. Just the way that he's been built up over the last 2 or 3 years. So I think the Miz is got to be the top underrated guy right now in WWE.
Now, would you put Miz with the world title going to Mania with Bryan as his opponent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have them touch until next year's Mania. I'd have I'd have them go on separate things and just tease throughout the year. And that could be the trend that we're seeing right now. That's the thing. Is that as the week that we record this and that stuff on SmackDown, they teased a Daniel Bryan Miz encounter, but then Big Cass showed up, and we have Big Cass versus Bryan at the Backlash pay-per-view coming up. So, I mean, that's the thing is, I wouldn't have Miz or Bryan even get into any physical altercation until maybe Rumble. And then something happens, maybe even in the Rumble match, where it's right. So the head explode.
So, see, the way I would book it, I agree with you. Like, have Bryan win the Rumble, Miz, Bryan at Mania.
Yeah.
But I would have the Miz hire lackeys or henchmen to just beat down Bryan month after month until he beats every henchman.
Which could be the way that they're going with the storyline right now. We have to wait for it to play out and that stuff. This could be like a thing where Big Cass, attacks Bryan on SmackDown. What's Big Cass's motives? Well, he was brought back by the Miz, knowing that Dallas and Axel were going to be left on Raw, right? So
yeah, And then he pays the Usos to take out Bryan. And, it could just be a bunch of feuds, small feuds leading up to the big feud.
The Bludgeon Brothers and that stuff and everything. And then finally at the very end of it, at the end of the line, going into, MetLife Stadium next year, you have Champion Miz, who would have to have got the championship by that point, versus challenger Bryan, right? So
yeah, that's money. That's why we're the bookers. Which we're not.
We are not, no. So, all right, what's your choice?
My choice for underrated is Mr. Smiley recently, Finn Balor.
Ah, the Balor Club. Yes.
Well, no, not anymore, apparently.
He's a one-man club now again.
He's the one-man club and the leader of the Rainbow, Finn Balor, which I support that, but it's not the Finn Balor that I was shown in New Japan or NXT. It's a watered-down Finn who doesn't really have a gimmick other than he smiles and he supports all wrestlers can wrestle.
It's a cool gimmick, but the thing is that I said it before when we were watching WrestleMania together earlier this year. To use a pro hockey analogy, he's wrestling's version of Pride Tape right now, and it's just like, okay, cool, that's awesome, that's a great message to get across, but in order for
it's
that
not
message,
a gimmick.
And in order for him to mean something too, is he's got to get some victories and start holding some belts. That's the thing.
Which he had a great start, and then he got hurt, and then he's just kind of been mid-card since then.
Ballistic start, but do you think the fact that he got hurt in the Universal title inaugural contest with Seth Rollins, do you think is that a factor that might cause WWE to shy away from giving him a belt? Because
absolutely.
Yeah, because that was the whole hang-up with Daniel Bryan. After Bryan got hurt, they never gave him, to this day, another crack at the World Championship.
Nope.
They gave him a crack at Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns' opportunity, but that didn't pan out. So they put him in the Intercontinental title match, and he walked out with the Intercontinental title, and then ended up getting hurt. And his longest, I guess it would be layoff. We thought it was a retirement at the time, but we've been blessed with Daniel Bryan returning, which is awesome. But that's Balor,
there's so much more can be done with Balor. I don't know. It sounds like they retired the Demon character, which was over. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either.
Unless maybe they're going to save it. I mean, if I was, again, I'm not the booker. But if I were to book, I would eventually open up Finn Balor Broken Hardy storyline.
Ah, okay. That'd be great.
Where he throws him back into the lake and then he becomes Demon Balor, leaving the lake.
Ooh, that'd be wild. Cool. No, that's awesome. This is two great choices, obviously, here. So,
but now we got to go to wrestlers I hate, and based on our last video, we chose wrestlers who actually hurt the industry or hurt progression. I'm gonna go first, if you don't mind, here, Nitro, and I'm going to pick the monster among men, Brock Lesnar.
Okay. Is it just stagnancy right now? The fact that he's a part-timer, the fact that he's Universal Champion?
The fact that he doesn't care.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I don't like Brock. He comes in, he gets paid, he wrestles, he gets to keep his belt. The belt's stagnant for the last year. This is actually worse, I think, than when Triple H held it for a year and a half. It's just not interesting. What's Brock's going to win most of the time. There's just nothing to tell it, and he can't wrestle. All he can do is a few suplexes, kicks and punches, and a few more suplexes, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to go along with that too. That's the thing, is that Universal title, I think it goes back to they had such a cool start with that lineage with that belt, where you had, Balor win it, and then his, whatever plans got, derailed. But then Kevin Owens wins it, holds on to it for like the longest time, and then has to give it to Goldberg because for whatever reason the Goldberg-Lesnar program needs a belt. And there's another wrestler.
There's another wrestler who can only punch and kick.
Yes. and they do their Mania match, which is better than I expected, but still, lacking. And then we have Lesnar since then as the Universal Champion, and we've had him since hard
over a year now.
Yeah, hard way Roman Reigns at Mania, which a lot of fans regaled and loved because we're sick sons of bitches. But other than that, that's it. And just the matches even prior to that, have been kind of, I don't want to say lackluster, but Joe and Lesnar, I expected a lot more from Great Balls of Fire last year, and that wasn't as great. Strowman and Lesnar,
not very good.
Not very good, but that's because they tried to make a 5-minute match, a 25-minute match there. Wasn't great.
And then the SummerSlam match, he got the hide in, so he didn't have to carry any of the workload.
Yeah, exactly, because it was a multi-man, right? So it's just it's I don't know. It's what have you done for me lately with him? And if the belt changes hands and he ends up losing it to Reigns coming up here or whatever, then it's no huge loss to me. But it's like, it's the weaker of the two championship belts, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
That WWE has. And you look at what they've been doing with the WWE belt over the same period of time, and you're like, okay, that's how a belt should be booked, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then, what should have happened with the Universal title matches, let's face it, that U.S. title match at WrestleMania should have been your Universal title match last year in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been Owens and Jericho straight up for that Universal title.
But it wasn't, because I guess Goldberg wanted a belt.
So, I hate when they do that. They did the same thing with CM Punk back in the day with Randy Orton.
Oh,
they took the belt off him, and
I thought it was The Rock. They gave The Rock the belt.
That too, yeah, that too.
Just like, hey, welcome back. Here's a belt. Thanks, boss.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm leaving in a couple months, so whatever.
Bye. All right.
Okay, well, we can both agree that we don't like the direction of Brock Lesnar. But what about wrestlers we do love, secretly love? Like wrestlers you're like, be like, you know what? That guy's really cool, but nobody else knows he's cool yet. Yeah.
Or girls, in my case.
Are girls guys?
Girls,
it's the women's revolution.
That's right. Mickie James, for me.
Old school.
What a veteran performer. And just what sealed it for me was, as we record this, the week that we record this, the Monday Night Raw confrontation between James and Ronda Rousey. And just the dastardliness of her taking Natalya out of that main event match over and over again with the repeated kicks, and then her just, the repeated drop kicks to Rousey on the outside, which finally set her off, and then the arm bar and that stuff, and it was so well done that there is reports that she legit did some damage on James's arm after that, but it's that's the thing where Ronda's still a little green in the WWE ranks.
She's a bit stiff still. A bit stiff.
Still a little stiff, but that's the thing is, Mickie is just, since coming back to WWE, look at who she's elevated. Asuka in NXT, again, another building block to help launch Asuka, and then coming back to the main roster, Alexa Bliss.
Yep.
And
she's elevated Alexa because Alexa's first bodyguard, Dana Brooke, doesn't really have much character, but Mickie pushed that character. Mickie basically replaced Dana and became a much better bodyguard for her.
Yeah. So, and just, she's the, like, I'd have to say at this rate, barring anything, hopefully, fingers crossed, barring anything substantial happening in her personal life or her career and that stuff, in 20 years, they'll be naming Battle Royal trophies after her because, hey, she's the Mae Young of this generation, in my opinion, of what they've
Without-
brought back in.
Absolutely, without the disdain of, Fabulous Moolah had.
Yeah. Which we got into, actually, in an earlier video. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It was actually a really good discussion. So, but Mickie James gets my vote for that question. Or is my answer
All right.
to that question. So.
Apparently, I'm not down with Women's Revolution because I didn't pick a woman.
I just fought outside the box for that one because I was like...
And that's great.
Yeah.
That's absolutely great. I've picked another NXT guy.
Okay.
This guy, I think, has a possibility to become the next big monster in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Killian Dane.
Ooh.
I absolutely love this guy. He is a mobile big man. And, he can work. He already has a 5-star match, too.
Yeah, there we go. That ladder match. So,
yeah.
Boom.
I just think he reminds me a lot of Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, he can move around a ring fairly quickly and can pick up pace and that stuff. I think he's a Bam Bam Bigelow comparable. Is a very good comparable for him. Remains to be seen if he'll be able to, and I think he will. Remains to be seen if he'll be able to stand on his own without sanity, because I know that they're just now starting to make their way onto the main roster with SmackDown Live.
I think he was the best member of Sanity. He was the guy who could go. He was the old guy who was actually in the world title picture and the North American title picture. Eric Young is the leader, but he wasn't involved in many of the title pictures.
He was a bulldozer during the War Games match back last year during 2017. Yeah, I almost said back in the day, but yeah, it was only last.
Back in the day.
Back in the day of like 8 months ago. Yeah.
Back at Great American Bash '91, Killian Dane was amazing.
I kind of cringed a bit with the Killian Dane thing, because if my art guy, Plane, is watching, we had a funny little angle with our WWE 2K18 with Killian Dane one night, and a mutual friend of ours. So, anyways, that's probably best left not to be discussed here. But
not safe for work.
Not safe for work, but just
not safe for work.
regarding past, shall we say, allegiances that I may or may have not had in the past. So
okay.
So we'll leave it at that. How's that?
That sounds fair. But that
is a great choice. That is a great choice, though. Yeah.
Okay, guilty pleasures. What product of WWE or wrestler or organization or angle do you love and want to see more of and more of and more of?
The Iconics. Peyton Royce and Billy Kay. I know they just got called up to SmackDown Live, so I'm loving that stuff, because they remind me of Lay Cool. They really do, and it's just it's kind of a cool thing. And if they're going to launch this women's tag team division over on SmackDown Live, which all signs are pointing towards, with all the teams kind of getting formed here lately, why not? That's the thing, is why not have them as your inaugural champions, because they've been working as a unit since NXT.
I will admit, the last SmackDown I watched, they were the most entertaining part of that horrible Carmella segment.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is that we were. They went the entire other way with that cash in, and we expected them to not give Carmella the cash in, and yet they gave her the cash in. So, hey, it's a risk. They're trying something.
Yeah.
So, but that's my vote, is Billy Kay, Peyton Royce. They were so freaking entertaining in NXT that if there's just a fraction of the entertainingness that they were. Entertainment factor? Star factor? Sure.
They're entertainers. They're
entertainers, yeah.
Entertaining Nitro.
Yes, exactly. So.
And Peyton is also a member of Storm Academy.
Yes. Shout out to Lance Storm.
Hi, Lance. We've never met.
I've met him once very briefly. He signed my VHS copy of Anarchy Rules '99. So,
okay.
Yes.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah, he's a decent guy. He's telling me, this is a quick aside, but this is the fun thing is that when Pioneer Entertainment started doing the very last runs of the ECW home video library and that stuff is right when Walmart Canada started picking them up. So that's how I bought my copies of ECW pay-per-views and that stuff and everything, because it was like, a month or two prior to ECW going out of business, you could finally go to Walmart and pick up, ECW pay-per-views.
I think it was Heatwave. I think I saw Heatwave there.
Yep, Heatwave.
2000, yeah.
And I got here Cyber Slam, Anarchy Rules 99. Of course, Lance Storm signed it and that stuff and everything. It's just that, how VHS boxes in the late 90s and early 2000s started experimenting with that glossy, waxy coating on it on the front?
Yeah.
That's notoriously hard for people to write on with permanent markers. So the guys found that when they signed the autograph, it bubbled, right? And that stuff. So Lance showed a little trick and that stuff that he had for that. He grabbed some tape, some, any type of tape would do, but he grabbed some tape and just lightly applied it on there and just to where he was signed and kind of ripped it off just slowly so he didn't peel the paint or anything like that. But if you do that, that knocks the gloss off it so you can write on it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great tip.
The autograph is still legible to this day. It's as vivid as the day he signed it, so it must work.
That's a really cool trick, actually. I will have to try that in my ventures. Thank you for the tip.
It's Lance. Yeah, there we go. So that's a Lance Storm That's a story from a Lance Storm original tip that I learned from him. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So my guilty pleasure, it's not your girls, it's more guys because I'm a sauce fan.
Go for it.
It is the WWE British division.
Oh, the UK division
UK
itself.
Division.
Yeah.
I love the UK division. I love the wrestling. It is brutal. Heavy hitting, just dangerous stuff, and I can't get enough of it. Pete Dunne, I think, is a great champion. The only thing I wish they can do more is showcase this division more. And I know they're trying to get a deal done with one of the British organizations so they can book their talent and use their promotion, but that's been trying for over a year now, or 2 years almost now.
I think so. Yeah, they've had a support system, about 2 or 3 independents over there, and then after the first UK tournament, it was kind of okay. But they're trying another UK tournament this year at the King of the Ring, and now the King of the Ring is going to be a United Kingdom exclusive tournament. It sounds like so.
Yeah, so it's all UK fighters, and the winner gets to fight Pete Dunne for a title shot later on.
That's right. Yeah, I've imagined that they'll probably load him in at maybe an NXT takeover. I think it's still in Brooklyn this year, the big one in the summer.
Yeah, they're definitely working New York a bit too much. They're gonna have to move SummerSlam, I think, next year.
Next year, yeah, they're definitely gonna have to move SummerSlam, and I think there's only one logical choice for that, and it would be Los Angeles or the Los Angeles area for SummerSlam again. So that's with all the venues and everything. They have their pick of the venues through there. But, yeah, I mean, this will be the last year for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, whatever. And then, they'll have to, and SummerSlam at the Barclays, and then they'll have to move it because, looking at WrestleMania for next year, the Hall of Fame ceremony, obviously the NXT show.
Another NXT, yeah.
And Raw and SmackDown are scheduled to take place at the Barclays in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
While they use the football stadium out in Jersey for, Mania itself. So
just overload of product there in the Manhattan area.
It's a head scratcher to me why it must be a naming rights thing with Madison Square Garden. Why they don't go back to the Garden for, Raw
it's
or
small.
SmackDown after and that stuff. Maybe that's the thing, is the house, right? So
yeah, it's a smaller venue. Like I think Mania only fit 17,000 in there.
Okay.
When they did Mania there, what was it, 20?
Yeah, Mania 20. So.
But yeah, no, I like the UK division. Here's the last question.
Okay.
We did favorite wrestler ever, non-WWE.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite of all time in the WWE?
In the WWE, man, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Who loves Bret Hart more than Bret Hart?
I tell you what, 1997, the summer of '97, he just iced it for me as the top guy for me. Like that's and this is a thing that always changes for me. Like, it's ever fluid throughout and that stuff. Like if you had asked me, maybe last year at this time, I would have said, oh, easily Randy Savage, and it's a thing that kind of changes once in a while for me, just because I have so many favorites from that era. But I always harken back to 1997 and watching the Hart Foundation rock the red and white, against that stinking Patriot and the red, white, and blue of the U.S. and that stuff, right?
But they were heels. Why are you cheering heels?
They weren't in Canada. They weren't in Bizarro Land. They were faces. They were Team Canada. It was like watching Gretzky and Lindros and Lemieux suit up against Ryan
basketball
Suter
players.
Yeah, okay, sure. Against Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and
other basketball names, yes.
Dennis Rodman.
Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, and yeah.
I mean, argument could be made that the way Brett left WWE was such a detriment to the business that it was unreal. Yeah, and I mean, still to this day, you could make that argument and everything, and it could be made the other way too, that it was one of the greatest things out of that, because we got a boon with the WWE and a ton of new eyes watching the product off of it as well. So
it actually helped.
Yeah, it is. It's quite the butterfly effect once you look at how everything's intertwined and that stuff. And I do love the podcasts that talk about it and everything. It's like listening to like the old conspiracy podcasts on like, who shot JFK and blah, blah, blah. It's,
what would happen if Hart stayed? Would WWE still be here? Or would we be watching WCW Starrcade Mania?
Or would either company even be here? That's the thing too, because don't forget, in 2001, you had the balloon burst on a wrestling thing. So
WCW was doomed because Turner was going to close it anyway.
That's right. But with all the major contracts and that stuff, who's thinking that WWE would have stuck around at that point too?
They could have been.
Because don't forget, Brett had that 20-year deal, and he was making, I think, somewhere upwards about 2.5, 2.7 a year off of that 20-year deal.
And WWE was losing money at the time.
And then, as the deal went on, it would be decreased payments and that stuff. Here's the thing. Had he signed that deal in 1997, that deal would have just ran out last year.
And he can barely walk. That would be terrible.
Or sorry, he did sign the deal, I should say. Is that, had he signed that deal and WWE kept him on the roster, I should say, it would have just ran out last year, hypothetically. If they just, like that.
But would they steal billion business? That's the question.
The thing.
I mean, would we be watching TNA's WrestleManias?
Would we, or would we be watching something completely different? Would Roller Jam be the thing that would have took over everybody's,
or Slam Ball,
or Slam Ball, or Rockin' Bull, or something?
Yes.
Good Lord, Bizarro World is weird.
We could spend hours talking about Bizarro World, and maybe we will someday. But yes, I'm going to go with my favorite wrestler is going to be the counter to your favorite wrestler, and that's the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
The adversaries, forever rivals. Yes,
forever rivals, forever etched in stone.
Was there ever a hotter rivalry? I mean, there'll be fans from the 80s that say, "Oh, Hogan and Andre at its peak was hot," or Hogan and
Nick
Savage,
and
or even
Nick Rockwinkle and Vern Gagne.
Okay, let's go way back with. That's a listenership with Depends, but anyway. But that's the thing, is that for our generation, for our age group, for what we are, because we're pretty similar in age ourselves. That's what we grew up watching, was Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, the build to WrestleMania 12, and then the aftermath, and watching Shawn kind of podunk through the summer of '96
Not Sean's best period yet.
No. You go back and watch those matches now and that stuff. I don't think any of them stand up
No.
at all.
But Sean redeemed himself.
Oh, absolutely.
After he dealt with his demons, he came back and had match of the year for them, and then match of the year again the following year, and match of the year following year. He became the showstopper finally.
If it would have ended at WrestleMania 14 for Michaels completely, and he didn't make the comeback, I still would have said that it was. It wouldn't be good, but I still was. You'd be to make a sports analogy, it'd be like losing a Bobby Orr. And how Bobby Orr retired and that stuff. And, the young kids who are watching this and don't know who Bobby Orr is, just Google it. It's a very tragic story on how his career ended. It would be the similar thing with Sean, with the lower back issues and that stuff. Sean is such a polarizing figure going forward. And then when he came back in 2002, he just became the sympathetic figure for the rest of his run, because you could not cheer against the hard. Well, we did up here.
Unless you're in Canada.
Yeah, unless you're in Canada and that stuff. And I mean, we did it during Backlash 2004, but spoiler was on us. The guy that we ultimately were cheering and applauding as a hero ended up being the worst. Not even tragedy. The worst thing to happen to pro wrestling. And I remember being in a crowd that night and just cheering against Shawn Michaels, every time. It's just, you screwed Brett and blah, blah, blah. And little did we know that less than 5 years from there, our guy that we were cheering in the ring that night would be a guy that's behind, the guy who killed Bruiser Brody might be the most hated dude in wrestling ever. So...
Yeah, no, I was also there at that night, and I also was cheering for Benoit at the time. It's hard to talk about. I even watched the tape recently. It's hard to watch because there's a whole tribute section to him from the city.
That's
the
chilling.
mayor giving him the key to the city. He's going to all these schools. He's getting all this respect from Edmonton, and
that's chilling.
3 years later, a horrible tragedy happens. Yeah. It's just hard to watch. So it's one of the pay-per-views that you can't really go back to, even though it was a great card. With Sean, I mean, that was a great match. Like, Sean put in a lot of effort. Triple H was in the match too, but Sean took most of the bumps.
Where can fans follow you if they want to come over and follow you?
I'm on Twitter at OneBabyfaceHeel. I'm also launched a Facebook page, One Babyface Heel.
Yay.
And I'll be launching a website blog in the near future.
Cool. You can come over and follow me at Kellen Nitro. If you enjoyed this content, check out the links below where you can actually take what we said and put it on your iPod or iPhone and go and listen to it. Because we're podcasting this as well, baby. We're going right into your ear holes and rattling your skull and your mind and potentially
You can be climbing Mount Everest and hearing our voices.
That's wild. Yeah, that's crazy. There could be a doctor somewhere listening to this podcast doing open heart surgery or something like that. I doubt that they would be listening to us doing open heart surgery, but
But never say never.
Never ever say never. Exactly. So, but anyways, I'm Kellen Nitro for the One Babyface Heel, Moorhouse. Later days, happy wrestling watching, and we'll see ya. Bye bye.